ตอกฝาโลงประกาศล้มละลายไปแล้วนะคะสำหรับธุรกิจค้าปลีกของเล่นขนาดยักษ์ในสหรัฐ Toy R Us ค่ะวันนี้ประกาศปิดร้านทั่วสหรัฐไม่ต่ำกว่า 855 แห่งและประกาศปลดพนักงานถึง 30,000 คนข่าวนี้เป็นข่าวใหญ่ที่สะเทือนวงการค้าปลีกและอีกด้านหนึ่งกำลังสะท้อนว่า Toy R Us ที่ผ่านมามีปัญหาในเรื่องการปรับตัวเข้าสู่ยุคดิจิทัลนะคะและห้างค้าปลีกอื่นๆกำลังประสบปัญหาคล้ายๆกันที่ปรึกษาสำหรับธุรกิจด้านการค้าปลีกระบุว่าหนึ่งในแนวทางที่น่าจะพอช่วยได้ก็คือการปรับระบบวิเคราะห์ข้อมูลหรือ Data Analytics เข้ามาใช้แต่จะทำแผนกเดียวก็ไม่สำเร็จค่ะ
The question companies very often come to us with is what can analytics do for my business? How do I think about getting started? And what we see is two things are very common. One is that there are literally hundreds and thousands of companies with different analytics solutions that come to companies offering their services. And so most companies, the first thing is they have lots and lots of small initiatives using analytics. And the second thing we see is that very often almost all of the efforts end in just a pilot. So they do a pilot or a proof of concept and they really struggle to make that successful pilot actually expand to have impact on the full organization.
And what's the most difficult part in terms of pushing this forward?
The most difficult part is what we call the last 1 mile. And it is, to give you a concrete example, in a retailer, even if you change the processes and you have great analytics to define a better way of assorting, like selecting products to sell. The last step that you need to take is you need to maybe get hundreds of buyers or merchants to change the way they think and to actually use the data. And where most companies struggle is changing the culture so that it becomes much more of a data-driven culture and actually uses the insights. Because what often happens is a buyer will have decades of experience, and when he sees new insights from analytics, they may not fit. And he may not believe them, and he or she will then probably not use them. So that what we call the last 1 mile is normally the biggest headache for clients.
And what's the use of people analytics with digital transformation?
Yeah. So people analytics is a very fascinating space, and it's about trying to better understand your organization using lots of different data sources and predictive models. One concrete example is, for example, in retail, where many retailers now are starting to do very advanced analytics to predict when an employee will quit or go to another company. And by using multiple data sources, they can find quite accurately and actually predict when an employee is very likely to leave and then try to prevent that and give them incentives or change the place they work, etc. So that is definitely an integral part of normally an overall analytics transformation.
Have your research have data of what's the extent that Thailand or organization in Thailand have already adopted data analytics and people analytics?
Yes. So we did some interesting research recently where we took the companies on the big and main indexes across Asia, so over 1,000 companies, and we analysed, to try to understand your question, the amount of attention paid to analytics. We analysed how many companies are mentioning analytics in their annual reports and their communication with shareholders. And we found quite an interesting trend in that in the past 6 years alone, the number of times analytics is mentioned and communicated to shareholders has grown by nearly 10 times across the region. Within that, Singapore had the highest level of mentions, and Singapore is seen as being quite proactive about analytics and digital. And Thailand itself was a little bit above the overall average for Asia. So it was interesting to see, again, with Thailand as well, the uptick was, I think, about 9 times. Mm-hmm. So companies in Thailand are definitely focusing more on analytics. I would say that that said, many companies are still trying to figure out how they can get impact from analytics.